All right, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100 today, we get a little bit of a slide onto the downside, but ultimately, if we look at where we're at, you're still in a pretty decent territory. Now, I will say the SPY is getting below our key level here around 595.7, but you're still holding in that overall area. You get a better look at something like Nvidia, which had a pretty decent push here on the day, but ultimately came back down. It was one of the better outlooks overall, but at least a few things are happening in tangent. You're getting the big names like Apple, Nvidia, AVGO moving together within the Nasdaq for once. That's overall good. The other part of what we saw that came out of overall kind of good news today is Fed Waller came out and said that you could expect rate cuts as early as July based off of the inflation reports. And he says even with the overall risk with tariffs, etc., that you're now in that decent territory, which is kind of the only light that we've seen at the end of the tunnel from rate cuts coming at all. This was a little bit of a shock as the day, kind of started. The other thing that I will say here as well is that they said the biggest issue is they don't want to wait for jobs to start to become an issue. And I think that is a true statement that if you are expecting some sort of stagflation or something like that, at least you try to put off one of the negatives out there, which you talked about that in the last video. And then today this is going to be the back and forth, okay? Iran, Israel, the United States. I'm not going to pretend to know the answers. I'm not going to play, the war analyst position here. That's not what this channel is about. But I'm going to tell you if X happens, I'll tell you my expectations. So if the U.S. were to bomb Iran, I'll tell you what I think will happen as far as the market is concerned. If we stay out of it, I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. Now, what did happen today as far as Trump and him talking about this, which again, you have to take for a grain of salt because he kind of flip-flops here and there. He said basically there's a 2-week timeline whether the U.S. will strike their nuclear facilities or not. Now, I'm going to paint a picture here for anyone to understand if this is even a possibility and what's kind of going on. If you don't know, this is just the facts of what's happened. You can Google it, do it for yourself. Basically, Trump is doing this because they have a window of opportunity. Basically, all Israel has done and why they need America to get involved is Israel has taken out all the air defenses for Iran, basically. That's all they've done. That's been their focus, what they've done. They can't go in and destroy these nuclear facilities because they don't have the weapons to do so. They need America to do it. And now America's like, well, we got one shot to do this. Let's figure out if we're going to or not. I personally believe, I'm not rooting for it or anything like that. I personally believe we get involved. That's an opinion. I'm not banking on it. I'm not doing anything like that, but that's my opinion. Now, again, going from that, what will happen if America gets involved? I think short term, you will get some downside. Again, this is down the line, something to think about. But the other part of this that I've talked about is going to be U.S. oil, which crude, very important to understand here. Crude's been in a long-term downtrend, and this could make crude spike. If crude spikes, that will impact inflation data, and it will make oil stocks do pretty well, which again, why I think Exxon is a really interesting play here. CVX Chevron, another really interesting play. I'll talk about those in a second, but if you want to hedge your position, those are two companies, in my opinion, that could do very well. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in detail. So we have a lot to talk about here. We'll go more into stocks I'm liking, the overall market, etc. But what we're looking at here on the day. Now, before I go too far, I do want to say right now, if you're interested in seeing how we trade, what we trade every single day, the link is down below for our Discord. You can see everything that we're doing as far as Exxon trades, as far as what we're doing intraday with our stocks, futures, etc. Every morning, give you the rundown on futures, what I'm expecting, what we're looking for. And so you know exactly verbatim each level to be watching tick for tick, everything for the up and to the downside, going into detail there. Then we go into our trade ideas where we post what we're looking for as far as options, go into our watch list, our favorite names for the week. Jay's been on vacation this week, so that watch list has not been there. It's been all numero uno dos Tyler. That's what's been happening there. And there are technicals for these scalps and what's happening there as well. That is there for you literally all day, every day. So you can tap in, do whatever you want. So it's always there ready for you. The link is down below. Another big thing that I will say as well, just to let you know, if you're trading futures or using prop firms, whatever it may be, I'm going to let you know this sale will end tonight. So you literally have 7 hours till it ends. It's 50% off of their new accounts, the new pro accounts. These are straight to funded. But if you use my code Jefe, Jefe, you get 55% off. And so this goes down to like 150 straight to funded. No eval, nothing like that. So the best deal that is out there, just to let you know, I use the 50K accounts. I have 7 of them. Do what you want to do. Again, that link is down below. Now, enough of the advertisements, enough of that. Let's talk about what we're looking for overall in the market today or going into next week, right? Very interesting. Number one, it's important to realize today You weren't going to get a lot of volume. It wasn't really. I mean, let's talk about this week in general. Okay, let's just take a second here, right? Let me get rid of some of these levels. These are a lot of intraday levels here as well, but let's just talk about where we're at and why you're moving the way you are. Okay. And let's get rid of that just so we can just see overall just the chart as a whole. This has been the daily here, right? We really haven't done anything. So despite people saying you look terrible, you look this, you look that. And again, if you look at something like SPY, I could see how this might not look as good here on the daily. I could see that. But it's still not that bad. Like, let's really like just take a step back and zoom out. ES is literally just trending above its 200. If it flips 200, that could be really bad. But that's where we're at right now. This week, all things considered, you had FOMC, which was Wednesday. So trading into FOMC, you're not going to usually get that much volume. It was quad witching as well this Friday. Another interesting thing that no one really was talking about, even though people love talking about it. And then number two, you had a middle of the week holiday with Juneteenth. So it was 4-day trading week. You were kind of set up to not get a pop, in my opinion, to the upside, just because there was not a lot of action and the volume was very low. That being said, I think you had room to dip if you were going to, especially on NASDAQ down to the 200. You just didn't do it. And NASDAQ continues to prove how resilient it really is. Like, just giving you a quick, just so you can see right here, right? It's clear as day. I mean, look at the reaction that you're having to that little previous high. Just clear buying off of basically 21.74, 21.75. That is ultimately what you really want to see. Now, again, am I saying that you can't dip? Am I saying that you need to go all in? That's not what I'm saying. But I'm trying to paint a picture of, just like when we were below the 200 SMA here, we were very clear. Like, when you get above the 200 SMA, you're going to have plenty of opportunity to make money to the upside, right? And you ran like another 1,500 points, right? Just like when we were getting bearish, right? Were we getting really bearish above the 200 SMA? No, we got bearish below it, and then you made a shit ton of money to the downside. So it's about knowing when to get aggressive, when to get passive, when to hit the brakes, when to hit the gas, right? And I'll just say this, like, it's not time to ever hit the gas for the downside anticipation. If you want to do that, go ahead, like whatever. But I'm just telling you, you have 700 points until the 200 SMA, for instance, on the NASDAQ. But if you get below that, I mean, look how much room. Just down to your next major support would be like 20,005, which is around 600 points. I mean, and then you have, again, your next big levels down at like 19.5. So you start to see big chunks of where you can move quick in that illiquidity. And again, that's where you make that money, is spotting those areas of illiquidity so you can get those quick moves. And again, they're just way less stressful, right? I always try to paint this picture in people's heads as well. I'll go into NVIDIA here as a day trade example, right? And I like to do like education inside the videos as well, just so you guys can like understand my train of thought, what's happening, just what I'm doing here. Now, NVIDIA here, this was actually like fantastic. Like, you did really well. Like, don't get me wrong. But like, for the most part this week on NVIDIA, you basically range traded. Like, lows were down here like at like 144. So anticipating a break of 144 was really aggressive if you were going to do that. Okay. So if you were trading the downside, a few levels we were watching were basically 146, 145, 144, obviously there. And so you get kind of a textbook move here, right? You break down, you retest, and then you shoot down. But what I was telling Discord and talking to them about, I'm like, you can take the trade, the retest of 145, you're going to reject most likely. But the thing is, like, how much are you actually trying to make here, right? So let's just say you went long, short at 144.9, a little aggressive, stops, right over the range, like 30, 20 cents above, and then you're aiming back to the downside of 144. The R makes sense as a 3R trade, but you're only looking to trade like 90, 80 cents to the downside. Now, again, you did break and ended up going deeper, but again, that's past your overall expectations. And so what I'm trying to kind of reel this back into is like looking at something like the NASDAQ, or let's say even ES here, right? ES is even a better short opportunity, right? So if you look here at the 1 hour, you go to ES, again, you literally tested basically last night almost, right? Or yesterday, your 200 estimate got very close. But here you have very little like downside opportunity here. You could you still trade if you break below 6,008, trade this to the downside? In theory, yes, you could try, right? Whatever you want to do. Open your stops up, I don't really care how. But where do you really start to make the money here on ES? When you flip that, I mean, you have another literally another 40 points and then really dropping as well. And what has happened when we've lost in the overall 200 estimate? We know big drops happen and it gets illiquid. So again, that's all I'm trying to say is get confirmation, have an overall trade plan, and things get a lot simpler to trade, right? So I don't think there's a rush to jump into the bear side. And I think you still got to be cautiously bullish here. Personal opinion, what I'd be doing until you lose these overall levels. Now, Going into what's happening here with Israel, Iran, what I was talking about there for a second. In my opinion, if you're looking and you have exposure to tech and things along those lines, I personally do believe the United States will get involved. I just think we will. I think Trump is like itching. Personally, I think it's just gonna happen. I don't want it to happen. I think it's overall bad, but I think it's going to happen. That being said, what you're watching is U.S. oil and crude, and companies like Exxon, CVX are going to be the big winners. Now, Exxon still above your 200 SMA, got a gap fill near 118, 119 overall, looking for like 119, 120. That's where I'm at. Now, again, Discord, we ended up getting into this trade earlier today. I really didn't do a lot today. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I saw the action. I was like, I do not want to trade this. Like, if you traded tech today, I don't think it was a great opportunity. Personal opinion. Could have got in, got out quick on names like Tesla, but it wasn't really like a trending day, right? And so, again, I just got my Exxon and I was done for the day. Those ended the day up like 10%. They ended at like 5.6 a contract. Happy with that, kind of bull flag breaking out. Again, another name I like here is Chevron. Chevron's sitting at its 200 SMA. I was going to go long on it earlier this week. I also posted this in Discord earlier this week here, Chevron, but you had to hold on the hourly above the 200 SMA. You just couldn't do it. If Chevron does that, I think this probably has more upside potential than Exxon. I think Exxon's just the safest name out there. But yeah, you can see you have a gap fill into basically 156, and then you have another gap fill at 166, kilo at 159. You have a lot of upside there. Like the easiest thing to say here, right? So do like it. Think it's a pretty nice name long term, or even medium term, like a little swing over the next few weeks. But what I'm looking at, what I'd be watching, and these will be my big winners. You can go to something like West Texas, some of the smaller names like Devon and Fang, Diamondback Energy. I think they're just riskier. I don't want to take on a lot of risk. The whole point of this is having it almost as like a hedge for any tech position that I may have, and kind of like a safer overall name or thing I'm looking at. Like, I don't think Exxon's going to dump no matter what, even if like things go really well. Personal opinion there. So what I'm looking at now, as far as tech is concerned, what I'm looking at there, I know you guys probably have a lot of questions. One of the interesting things was Apple today. Apple, I'm going to tell you right now, Apple's been one of my weakest names out in the market, but Apple did reclaim its 2023 high back here, worth mentioning 199.6. So again, can't really do much with that. As long as you're above 199.6, I'm looking for a pushback in 204. I'll let you know that right now. I just want to track that just because, again, weird action here on the day. Number two, Tesla. Tesla's kind of just ranging here as well. You kind of didn't get the breakdown. You got like to 317, then kind of bounced, but kind of really did nothing at 322. You're sitting like Tesla's sitting in a giant square or a rectangle, right? It's literally terrible action. So you're trading it from basically 333 down to 315, 320 back and forth. Nothing's happening there. Above 333 looks really good for upside. Until then, there's no reason to get crazy on it. Just let the action happen. Take a step back, right? Relax. Okay. Beyond that as well, Netflix looks really solid, holding up. Don't really care too much, but again, one of the more strong names. Now, it's important to know which names are your strongest, which names are your weakest, because if you start to get, so we go into Monday morning and buyers get really aggressive, Iran talks, U.S. talks go really well, bulls step in aggressively. Well, I'm not going to look at the names that I think are weaker. Those aren't going to be on the top of my priority list. I want to focus on the names that I know that are the strongest. And in my opinion, I think Netflix is one of those names. Despite selling, you're seeing Netflix hold around 1230, which is crazy. This is just cue to go back in all-time highs, in my personal opinion. Would be watching that. Semiconductors have been on a tear. AMD ended up running into like 133, then rejected. If AMD can ever get above like 133, 134, I think you're cooking. This is your key level here. You can see clear as day. You get above basically 133.3, 133 flat. It's a long into 141 and beyond. Monster name potential there. Advanced Money Destroyer might actually be back. Pretty incredible. NVIDIA, I've hit the brakes here, guys. We saw some of the leaps. Short-term trading, though, this is trash. Not interested. AVGO, I still like it a lot, but again, getting rid of some of these levels just so you can see very clearly. Your key level that you're watching right now is basically 252. Above that, I am very bullish. Your previous all-time high from 2024. And the other thing that you're looking here on the 15-minute is you get above 252, you pushed almost into 255, 254.8 instantly, like every single time. Like giving you an example, you break here, you shoot up. You break here, it's been pretty money. So you get above that, looking for that. You ever get above 255, I think you're breaking out and filling the gap into 259. Looks really good. AVGO's been a beast, but kind of can't push the envelope here. One of my weaker names out here is Costco. It's kind of been just like flat down here at lows. I really like the potential to break here, but it never did. Still clearly making lower highs and lower lows. I want to see the test of 962 to 957. That's a big buy zone for me. I'd keep that, make sure I have alerts set because that's a huge opportunity. Would be watching that very, very closely. As far as mid caps are concerned, names I like out there. Number one, you guys know Palantir. We've been really bullish on Palantir lately. I'm definitely hitting the Uno reverse card. So your big breakout point is getting back above 140 to 139. You get above that, you're cruising back into all-time highs, in my opinion. We've rejected that and flipped it so far. In my opinion, you're looking closer down to 136. I'd be eyeballing like 135, though. 135 to 133. I think you get a break back into that overall range. What I'd be watching for there. Upstart's been bouncing back, but you're just taking some risk. Like going with mid caps right now when you're getting like this very, hot and cold environment that you're seeing from, geopolitics. It's a dangerous game you're playing here. Okay. Upstart looks great. Above the 200 SMA, you guys know I think it's a long, but it's a risk. Like you're taking some calculated risk here. A firm looks better, right? So a firm wants to get the retest, breaking back up. Still a beast. Would be watching this as well. One of my favorite large cap names is Meta, but it's flipped back below 683, 682. That's terrible. Looking for 675 if you hold below 680 easily. I think Meta is very strong as well. I think fundamentally looks great, but you're just not getting the buyers out there, so I don't want to be biased. So again, I can't really do nothing with that until you're holding firmly above 700. Once again, we'll talk more aggressively about that. CrowdStrike almost got that push towards 500. You just, again, so I think someone commented on one of the videos today, and again, you're back just at overall support. It's the same levels on repeat. Someone commented on Twitter. If you guys don't follow on Twitter, I recommend doing so. You get the updates there as well. But they're like, CrowdStrike's dipping. You said it was going to 500. Like, again, if the market's moving up, then most tech names will follow. If the market dips, has a bit of a red day, then majority of names will follow, right? Like we understand, like look for upside when NASDAQ is bullish. Look for downside when it's bearish, right? You had a monster push into 493. I still think it's incredible. I think it's the best like cloud name out there. That or PanW, but CrowdStrike's the winner in my opinion. But what I'm looking at there, overall opinion, if you get back below like 473, you could see a dip down to 468, 464. So be on the lookout there. But again, what I'm looking for, what I'm watching. If you have any questions, let me know down below. I appreciate all of you. Like, subscribe, do what you gotta do. See you guys tomorrow.